Hey guys, this is Spencer with Fence Training. I'm bringing to you today a school shooting review and thoughts of Ed Monk's presentation over at reflexhandgun.com with Tim Larkin. I'm going to post the link to that presentation. It is a 5-part presentation. They're roughly 25 minutes a piece. So hour and a half basically is what they're bringing you. Some of them were 25, some were like 16 minutes. So I believe it's about an hour and a half total, and I highly suggest going over and watching the video because the analysis of the math and the statistics are mind-blowing. Mr. Egmont had been studying this, I believe, for the past 13 years. Active shooters actually been actively studying active shooters and the math and the data, and his math and statistical analysis are spot on. So I highly suggest you go cover that or go watch that. And I'm going to link it under the video. It'll be in the description. I'll put a link to it. Um, I just wanted to cover a couple of things of what he touched on, of what I'm seeing, and the reasons for, um, or the reasons that we don't have any better protection in our schools. That's what I want to cover. Everybody's wanting to blame everything but the actual reason. So I'm going to go over that a little bit today. So it shouldn't be too long of a video because I really don't want to take away anything from his presentation over there. I just want to bring something that he said in the presentation that I have been seeing over the years, working with church safety and security. Now, it is a little bit different. Um, However, the reasoning behind a lot of the stuff has been the same. So we're going to cover that. Who is Ed Monk? He was an Army officer for 24 years active. He was a police officer for 12 years. I still think he does policing part-time. Firearms instructor for 12 years, and then he's actually been an active shooter trainer for 10 years. So he's got a lot of experience, and then he's a high school teacher for 4 years. So he has not only um, experience covering a lot of the realms, he was also a teacher. So he sees what happens in the schools as well. So that's great experience from him to bring to the table. And it's also where he can get some analysis and data from what we're seeing as well, even in our churches. I know he's gotten more active in churches lately, and what he saw in it, and he goes over all that in that presentation he had with Tim Larkin. Again, it's a 5-part series, so you could watch, the first video is like 20 or 25 minutes, so you could kind of break it down that way, which is really nice. Okay, so what I'm wanting to bring is why haven't our schools become more proactive? Um, Well, there's reasons for that. It's not that they can't. It's not that it's literally not. Um, our schools, our school boards, our government could protect our kids. They literally could protect our kids. There's going to be incidences no matter what. But everybody's jumping on the whole gun control ban, the gun control ban, the gun control ban. Um, it doesn't work. It doesn't. And if you notice the schools, one of the things he does bring out is all of these things have happened in gun-free zones. I wonder why. And it's not. And one of the things he brought out is the shooters. The shooters literally have written notes down or made ledgers or whatever saying where they were going to attack, but then they ended up changing their mind because it was too guarded. The guy that did the nightclub in Florida, the nightclub wasn't his first place, and he brings that out. His first place was actually Disney World. Then his second place, because Disney World was so guarded, was another nightclub, but it was guarded too. So then he went to this nightclub. One of the other, the Colorado movie theater shooting, that wasn't his first choice. He thought about doing 2 other places, I believe. But they were too guarded, so he went to the movie theater. It was an easy target, as well as some of the school venues. They haven't always been, the schools haven't always been the targets, the primary target, but the other places were too well guarded, or they went to another school. Oh, they've got too many guards, and they went over to this school. So there's hardening your schools is what's going to work, but why aren't they doing it? So we're going to look at it. So I've got it in PowerPoint presentation. This just makes it easier for me to see some of the notes. And I know you can read, but then I can add a little bit to it. When everything in business and government, you have to weigh the cost risk and then make your decision. So there's a cost risk analysis. You know, is the risk outweigh the cost? So I just not worry about it and just keep going about my business. In all honesty, that's what most businesses are doing. I worked at the plant that had an active shooter come in. And one of our things was I told them more than one time, you need security, you need security, you need security, you need security. Cost risk analysis, cost risk analysis. That's all I ever got. The cost outweighs the risk. Well, they had an active shooter, and I guess the cost outweighed the risk, and now they're looking at it. It's like, well, they only lost one person. Hey, and that's literally what we're dealing with. I have personally witnessed this in places I've worked. I have personally witnessed this within the churches I've dealt with, and the way they think about protecting the flock. In all honesty, you put armed people in your church, your insurance goes up. So does that cost risk analysis outweigh? And for the most of the churches, they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. I'm not paying that high insurance, so we just won't do it. So basically, the cost of insurance outweighs the lives of the flock, or the cost of insurance outweighs the lives of your students, of your kids. Um, this is real. This is what it is. In the churches before the Texas church shooting, and I have the Texas here because that's actually what he stated. I actually saw a pickup after the Charleston church shooting because I am in South Carolina, and the Charleston, is 3.5 hours away from where I'm at. So all the churches are like, oh no. Before that shooting in Charleston, they were very hesitant about having any type of security, much less armed, in the churches. For whatever reasons, they didn't want to look like this prison that you're walking into, or they didn't want to look like all this other stuff. They didn't want to send a bad example, they didn't want to push people away. But then when the Charleston church shooting happened, they're like, oh, we need to protect our people. A lot of that come on the heels of the flock of the members saying, hey, have you got us protected? We need to be protected. So they kind of went into that. And then, of course, where I was at, they started ramping their stuff up. And the schools do this as well, and not only the churches, the schools do this. They were living under the it won't happen in a church, or it won't happen in a school, even though it has happened. It won't happen here. It won't happen here. And a lot of them have lived under that as well. So you have the risk analysis, and most people, unfortunately, most people don't want a gun in the school until the shooting starts, and then they're calling 911 begging for cops with guns to hurry up and get there. You're already behind the curve. You're literally behind the curve at that point. And again, his videos bring out a lot more to light. I'm just going over why they don't have it. Here in my area, the police response, from what I've seen, is about 12 minutes, and I think that's a true statistical analysis. Was 12 minutes was their typical response time. If you're closer to the city, it's a little bit lower than that. I think you actually get about 8 minutes, so it's about 4 minutes less. But you've got a smaller area where our county, Anderson County, is huge. It's a really big county, so they're spread out. So it's a lot harder to get to you quick. Now, you can expect to have one person shot per every 10 seconds, so that would average 72 people. If they have enough ammo, have enough people to shoot at, and then the location. So if you've got literally like one room with 150 people, they could like kill 72 people before police arrive. And then it depends on if the police go in or not. The last few we've seen, the police haven't even went in, so that doesn't help either. The police do need better training with that. First one on scene, first one in, get eyes. If nobody's went in, go in, get eyes, take the shooter out, get in, get active. That's what the police need to do. And they need better training, and the ones that are too scared to do that, you need to get out of policing. Thank you for your service, but get out if you're not willing to do it. Same with your church safety team members. If you're not willing to do it, get out. The data that he brought brought forth has been spot on with all the varying factors that came into play with the active shooter. His data, this 10-second rule, um, has been spot on with how long the shooting process took. You know, if the guy basically killed himself, shot a bunch of people, then killed himself within 5 minutes, the data was spot on, or 3 minutes, or whatever it was, or 20 minutes. The data was spot on. How that many people were shot. At one every 10 seconds. And now you can also expect one every 5 seconds the first minute. So it actually gets a little bit higher. But then, of course, the reason it goes out from what I saw was because he would go over here and do some shooting, but then he's got to move and find some more people and then do some shooting. So it spreads out. So it's about every 10 seconds. And one of them he brings up in his video, they were like 9.8 seconds. So it's literally spot on. So you can count on one person every 10 seconds that they're allowed to shoot being shot. All right, now this is what I really wanted to bring to light. These are things that I have been seeing as well, and I have been told within the churches. And he brings this out as far as the schools. Mr. Ed Monk, he was giving a school presentation at one of the schools that invited him in. All right, he stated that if you have an active shooter and they start coming into your classroom, you need to have a welcoming committee. Basically, you need to hit them as soon as they come in the door with everything you have, chairs, books, fire extinguishers, etc. In other words, you need to fight back. Well, there, that superintendent stood up and said, "Stop, that's it, you're done. We will never advocate violence." Yeah. So he's okay with a shooter coming in and shooting your kids, but he's not okay with your kids fighting this shooter. Think about that. He's okay with not saying, hey, violence sometimes is the answer, because it is. I'm sorry, it is. For you to use like, oh, violence out there, and yes, it is, and just stop. Just shut up. You're ignorant. Violence is sometimes the answer. If my church people, Luke 22:36, Jesus wouldn't have told them to get a sword if he didn't expect them to use it. So all my Christians out there that are like, oh, violence isn't the answer, stop. Luke 22:36, stop. He told them to get a sword. If it was today, he would have told them to get an AR-15. So just stop. Violence is sometimes the answer. Now, I'm not advocating to go start something. What I'm advocating for is if that shooter comes in, you do what it takes to take that shooter out. If it's you or your kids or the teacher or your kids or whoever, for you teachers out there, fight against this attacker. Get your kids somewhere hidden, especially if it's younger kids, get them hidden. Get something in the classroom. If that door opens, you attack that shooter. You take that shooter down the best you can. Like, oh, well, I might get shot. Yeah, but you're going to get shot anyway. Fight against this person. If you remember the 9/11 attacks, they didn't fight against it. They took the first two planes down. The next plane, they knew they were going to die anyway. You're going to die anyway. You have a better chance using violence and fighting back to survive and protect your kids. He may walk in the door, you may smack him upside the head, rattle his brains a little bit with a book. He may take off and go on down the hall. Then you can get your kids somewhere else. So as far as this superintendent's concerned, he doesn't want to advocate violence to the point of defending yourself. So he honestly doesn't care about your kids, and most of them don't. They literally don't, or their hands are tied. All right, so he also, Mr. Monk, Ed Monk, suggested to the security supervisor of a school he was teaching at that they fight back if they enter the class. Now he's not saying just to go out and fight them. He's saying, hey, if they come into the classroom, fight back. And the supervisor stated they couldn't and wouldn't do that because their insurance would go up. And your insurance goes up. Who cares? They're putting their risk analysis of the cost of insurance over your students' lives. Period. Period. They don't care about your students enough to pay more insurance. Period. If I was some of y'all, I would be upset. Stop. Oh, ban guns. No. Your people don't care enough about your kids to protect them in the first place. Banning guns ain't going to go a lick because they'll start coming in with baseball bats and knives and doing the same thing because they're not going to allow you to fight back in the first place. He also suggested to this same person that they bust out the windows in the classroom and have the kids run to the post office. They stated they couldn't tell their kids to leave campus. It would take hours to get accountability for them all. So they're okay with the shooter coming in, killing your kids in the classroom as long as they can account for your kids dead laying on the floor. They don't care about your kids. They literally do not care about your kids. They care about lawsuits, because if they lost one of your kids, that would be a lawsuit. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things he does bring out, he said, if it took an hour to find your kid after the shooting, but they were alive, the parents probably wouldn't care. If it took 5 hours to find your kid and they're alive because a teacher got them out and said, get out of here, go, run to safety, get help, and they just went and hid in a closet somewhere for 4 hours, 5 hours, and then you finally found them, they would be okay with that. But you're okay, or the supervisors or whoever, the council, would rather count your kids dead on the floor so they have accountability so they don't have that kind of lawsuit come up. No, we can't fight back. We don't want lawsuits. You need to think about that. You need to think about where you're sending your kids. You need to look at their policies. And if their policies are, oh, no, we can't fight back. Oh, no, we're not having any kind of security. My suggestion to you is get your kid out. And for those of you that can and are willing, homeschool them. Keep them at home. My kid's not old enough to go to school yet. He's 3. He's knocking on that door. This next year, I could put him in pre-K. Don't know that I'm going to. I'm leaning heavily to homeschooling him for more than just this reason, but this is one of the reasons. All right, so this is the cold hard truth. The unfortunate truth is that the system will never put your kids above the cost of lawsuits nor insurance until the cost of losing a kid is greater than the lawsuits or the insurance. My suggestions to that, for those, this is coming off the heels of the Robb Elementary School shooting in Texas. To all your parents, all the kids' parents that were killed, and all the other parents in that school, my suggestion to you is you take that school system to court and sue them because they didn't have the right implementations in place to protect your kids. I'm saying you need to take a class action lawsuit toward that school and the police department, because the police department sure didn't do what they were supposed to do. And this is every other school as well. You need to take class action law. Do not settle. Absolutely do not settle. Do not settle. Take class action lawsuits so great in the billions, not millions, billions of dollars. Your kid's worth more than that. Take them to school, start suing the snot out of schools, and when the schools finally realize it's going to cost more for a kid to die on my campus than it is for me to pay the higher insurance cost, than to pay armed security, to harden our schools, to get people implemented in place that need to be implemented in place, than it is to pay the higher insurance and stuff, then, and only then, will all this stuff stop happening, or will all this stuff start dwindling out? They will go elsewhere. If you get your schools hardened, they'll find another school. If they get their schools hardened, they'll find another school. If you get your church hardened, they'll find another church. If they get their church hardened, they'll find... The more hard that these places start becoming, they'll start moving elsewhere. And in all honesty, if you are in a fairly conservative area, and you start hardening your schools, they're going to move to liberal areas and start doing this stuff. I'm sorry, you got California, you got Illinois, you got Connecticut. They're never going to go for none of this stuff. Never, ever. So my suggestion to you is you move out of those states. Just shut them states down. But You start hardening and they will go elsewhere. And for all the schools that have had the shootings in the schools, you need to take billions, billions, B as in boy, billions of dollars in lawsuits against these schools, against these police departments, against whoever you got to bring it against. So they realize, oh, we need to pay that insurance. Oh, we need to have full armed security. We need to have a fully armed staff to protect those kids. If not, we're going to get sued and we're going to get shut down. All right, so my suggestion, this goes out to the teachers out there. For those of you teachers that are in these areas that are telling you to huddle back in this little area, to get behind this line, to get, that's great for the younger kids, get them behind that line. But as teachers and for middle school and high school students, you need to forget what the teachers are telling you. They're acting on the risk analysis, the cost of insurance, and other factors, and they're putting that above your kids' lives. And I'm talking to you teachers, they're your kids, and I know you consider them your kids for the school year. Teach your kids to fight back. You fight back. Use whatever you have available to beat the shooter down. Whatever's in that classroom, books, fire extinguishers, etc. If needs be, bring a baseball bat, bring a golf club, or something to show and tell to your students. Something you got at home, show and tell it. Keep forgetting to take it home. Secure it, but you'll have it in that event. So you bring this really cool baseball bat you got the other day at the local store. Oh, it was on sale. It was really cool. It was a nice, good, lightweight softball bat. One of them that you can swing really hard and really fast and knock somebody upside the head really good and knock them out. You wanted to show your kids because you got a great deal on it. And then you put it to the side, and if something happens, you pick that bat up and you do what you got to do. Or you golfers out there, I personally would choose a baseball bat, but some of you can swing a golf club better than a bat. Some of you might can hit them with a fire extinguisher. If your class room ain't got a fire extinguisher, bring your own. Put a fire extinguisher right there where you can get to it. Put it under your desk. Wherever you got to put it, you got a fire extinguisher. I don't even care if the thing's empty. Get a fire extinguisher. Whatever it takes. Forget what they've told you. Get that stuff in there. And I know you can't bring guns, but there's nothing for the most part. You got baseball bats in schools. You got golf clubs in schools. You got fire extinguishers in schools. Get them in your classrooms. Have a way to protect your students. You ain't got to tell nobody. Just keep it in there and protect your students. I know they used to make those little small ones, little baseball bats that were like 2 foot long, that would have, like Braves or Orioles or whoever your team was, that could pack a punch. They made some really nice ones at one time that wouldn't break hitting somebody 2 or 3 times. They might break after that, but it's probably enough to knock them out. That might be something cool to go show them as well. Also, teach your kids, bust a window out and either have your kids run somewhere if they're old enough. If not, you leave them. That's predetermined, set by you so they can get to a safe place. So you ride around the school. Where's a predetermined place? There's a Spinks right here. There's a Walgreens right here. Wherever's the closest to the school, kids get out, go over to the Walgreens, get inside, tell them to call 911, tell them what's happening, and they will probably get you to the back somewhere. And they probably will. They'll probably herd them kids to the warehouse, call 911, get the police over there, and then you can start calling kids' parents. And if they don't know the phone numbers, that's fine. You can get in touch. They can keep them there. They can call in the police and tell them that you've got the kids, and they will get word out to the parents. Forget what these people are telling you about violence isn't the answer, because at that point in time it is. It is absolutely the answer. Fighting back is maybe your only chance. I don't care what police departments have told you. I don't care what supervisors, superintendents. Okay, you might lose your job. Who cares? You saved them kids. You saved them kids. Have something. Be aware. Be able to get your kids out, to fight back, etc. All right, I just wanted to go over this real quick of what I am seeing, what he brought to light. His video series, Mr. Ed Monks, is a really good series over there with Mr. Tim Larkin. you need to watch it as well. It brings a lot of mathematical analysis on all of these shootings and why they happen and where they happen and how we can prevent it and stop it. A lot more greater detail than I just went in. I just wanted to bring this out to show what I'm seeing compared to what and it's literally the same thing. And just some things that I believe you should do. Again, I know you can't bring a gun to school. I get it. I get it. But there's nothing saying that, they have baseball teams, they have golf teams. Hey, you brought a baseball bat, show the baseball team, and you forgot it and you left it in your classroom. Do what you got to do. And I just wanted to bring this out, my thoughts and opinions on it. As far as these that are gun bans aren't going to work. I'm sorry, but you go over to other countries and it may not be guns, but it's knives, it's bats, it's hammers, it's other stuff. So stop with the nonsense of the gun ban. Let's realize that our schools aren't putting your kids above the lawsuits and the insurance, and then start suing those schools until they start doing the necessary steps, and then we can make some headway. All right, guys, this is Spencer with Defense Training. Stay safe, stay armed.
Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video below. Thanks.